Happy New Year! Happy 2026! It's our first Facebook Live session for 2026, and we would like to greet everyone watching AMN Academy. This is Ervin Temporal of 9.09er English, and for this week's episode, we're going to give a freebie, of course. Why not? It's the first Facebook Live session for this year. So all you have to do is to answer this question. What is your New Year's resolution? Kindly use the comment section. And for our winner, which we are going to announce by the end of this Facebook Live session, the winner is going to receive a free IELTS book. So there are 3 free IELTS books to choose from. This is our first book, our IELTS listening and reading compilation. This is most recent because it's published just last year in 2025. Or if you don't want to focus on listening or reading, apparently speaking is the most important subtest for nurses going to the United States of America. So you might want this free book. It's the compilation of IELTS speaking questions with model responses. However, if you'd like to know which subtest most people usually get the lowest grade in, it's the writing subtest. That's why you might want to win this free book instead. So guys, for those of you who have just joined us, all you have to do is to answer the question, what is your New Year's resolution? There, by the end of this Facebook Live session at around 9:30 p.m. or 30 minutes from now, we are going to pick a lucky winner who is going to win a free IELTS book. Or if you know anyone who is planning to go abroad and take IELTS this year, please kindly tag your friends because our session for tonight is live and interactive. You can ask me any questions and I'm going to read the comments from time to time and answer them for you. At the same time, if you know anyone, a nurse perhaps planning to fulfill that American dream in 2026, welcome to the Facebook page of AMN Healthcare International, probably the most generous agency for nurses who would like to go to the United States. And why am I saying that? Well, that's because all qualified nurses of AMN enjoy a free review at 9.09er for their English examination. So there are a lot of nurses who would like to go to the United States, but are on a tight budget. But thanks to the generosity of AMN, they can prepare for their English examination free of charge without paying a single centavo. And the best part, AMN nurses get to enjoy daily one-on-one coaching in speaking and writing from Monday to Sunday. So for tonight, we're going to talk about latest updates in IELTS this 2026. Before that, I've noticed there are comments from some of our live viewers. So let's take a look at them first before we show you our presentation for tonight. So our first greeting came from Miss Amabel. Hello, greetings from the Queen City of the South, Cebu. Maayong gabi sa tanan ako mga kaigsuonan din ha sa Visayas ug sa Mindanao. This is Ervin Temporal, born and raised in Davao. So I would like to greet my fellow Bisaya, maayong gabi. And then Amabel already has her entry and she said her New Year's resolution is to stay healthy throughout the year. We have another live viewer and this one is from Sorsogon City. Hi, good evening, Miss Pearl. And then Tony here has a short-term goal or a New Year's resolution, which is to get 8.5 or 9 in the IELTS. That's short-term, but for the long-term, that is to go abroad in 2026. Let's manifest it, ladies and gentlemen, that whatever you wish for this 2026, you are going to have it before the end of the year. And then Edwin Antonio wants to pass his IELTS and say hello to the United States. Charles is watching from Ghana. Good afternoon to our brothers and sisters in Africa. Welcome to AMN Academy. And then Princess wants to pass IELTS. Pearl also gave her New Year's resolution. So keep those New Year's resolutions coming because by the end of our show, we're going to pick a lucky winner who is going to win any of the free books that I have mentioned earlier. So let's start our discussion for tonight. Miss Malanes, our PowerPoint presentation, please. So this Facebook Live session is not just for nurses, okay? Let me make that clear. However, I would like to emphasize that AMN Healthcare Academy is a recruitment agency helping nurses go to the United States of America. So if you are a nurse planning to go to the United States, you need to pass 2 examinations, and one is Next Generation NCLEX. Thankfully, the NCLEX Review Center partners of AMN give free lecture on next generation NCLEX. That's every second and fourth Monday of the month. Second and fourth Monday of the month, same time. Whereas 9.09er English gives free IELTS lectures every first and third Monday of the month. Apparently, it's the first Monday of the month. That's why it's 9.09er's turn to conduct free lectures here on AMN Academy. Ladies and gentlemen, we want you to pass your NCLEX first. That's the cardinal rule. So as many as those who are joining this live session but have not passed their NCLEX yet, that must always be your first step. After you pass NCLEX, that's when you say, hello, 9.09er English, because we are going to accompany you in your dream to pass your English examination. So let us now move on to the 2 reasons why you need to pass your English examination. Some people do not know that there are basically 2 objectives why they need to pass an English test. And number 1, that is for visa screen application. FYI, visa screen is for the entire United States of America. Before, when I started teaching, it's like 2006 and now it's 2026. Time flies by so fast, and for the first time in my life now I can say I've been teaching IELTS for 2 decades already, for 20 years already. Jeez, that's goosebumps, making me a dinosaur in IELTS. So when I started teaching IELTS in 2006, only IELTS was accepted by the United States. However, in 2022, that was when it became liberating for nurses, because now there are 6 options for you to choose from in order for you to secure your visa screen. And what are these 6 options? There's IELTS, PTE, OET, MET, TOEFL, and TOEIC. So guys, let me repeat. Here are the 6 options that you can take for your visa screen application. However, this is the big but. There is a second reason why you need to pass your English examination. And what is this? It's for license endorsement. So, did you know that every state board of nursing in the United States has its preferred English exam or preferred English exams? So what is the commonality that binds all the states of the United States together? It's only IELTS, which is accepted literally by all state boards of nursing. I understand that there are certain nurses who are still undecided. Like today, they want to go to Florida. Tomorrow, they want to transfer to Texas. The following day, they want California. And then the next day, they want to go to New York. No problem if you're going to choose IELTS, because IELTS hits all the birds with one stone. You secure your US visa screen and you're able to secure your license literally in any state. That is the main advantage of IELTS. What AMN noticed in the last 4 years, some nurses took other English examinations. Then when they decide to go to a particular state that does not accept the other English examinations, they were forced to take a second test, which is IELTS. So as you can see, sometimes if you choose other English exams, there is a possibility that you have to take another examination simply because there are certain states that do not accept other English examinations. So if you don't want to waste any effort from the beginning, take IELTS, because with that, you're going to tick all the boxes in your US visa application. But here's the question. Can I take my English exam first? No, you must always pass your nursing examination before you take your NCLEX. And I guess we have a second question here, and it says, when is the best time to take IELTS? Well, based on the observation of 9.09er with the progress of our reviewees, 2 to 3 months. So say, for instance, it's January, right? A lot of people have this New Year's resolution to go abroad. If you start with your IELTS preparation in January, I can confidently look at you straight in the eye and tell you, you are ready to take the examination by March or April. But some of you say, wait a minute, 2 to 3 months, that's just too long. Can I make it this month? Well, yes, as long as you maximize the daily one-on-one coaching and speaking of 9.09er English. But why speaking? We're going to find out as we move on to the next slide. So next slide, please. Now we have established the 2 reasons why you need to pass your English examination. But let me tell you that if you want to work as a nurse in the United States, you just have to remember 2 scores. Overall band score must be 6.5, and then speaking must be 7. This means to say, it doesn't matter whatever grade you get for listening, reading, and writing, as long as speaking is 7 and your overall band score is 6.5. So some nurses are asking me, sir, what about our grades in listening, reading, and writing? What are we supposed to get? Well, the truth is, USA does not really think about whatever grades you get for listening, reading, and writing, as long as your speaking is 7 and your overall band score is 6.5. But how to get 6.5 overall? Well, the recommendation is a 6 in listening, 6 in reading, and a 6 in writing. That will give you 6.5 overall band score. Then someone good in math called my attention and said, sir, wait a minute. 7 plus 6 plus 6 plus 6 divided by 4, the average is 6.25 and not 6.5. So, sir, the math is not mathing. Well, thank you so much for reminding me about the basics of mathematics. It's just that in the IELTS, there is no such thing as 0.25 or 0.75. The moment you get an average of 6.25, automatically that will be rounded up to 6.5. And once you get an average of 6.75, that will also be rounded up to 7.0. So ladies and gentlemen, 7 in speaking, 6.5 overall, that is safe for you to go to America. If you're going to look at all the other English examinations that are accepted by CGFNS or True Merit for visa screen application, they require a specific grade for listening, reading, writing, and speaking and overall band score. That is for other English exams. But the advantage of IELTS, you just have to focus on speaking and overall band score. So earlier, I emphasized that with 9.09er English's daily one-on-one coaching and speaking, we can help you get the required band scores in 2 to 3 months. How much more if you're going to devote time and attend the classes regularly, watch the lessons in your dashboard, and book one-on-one coaching slots. So the advantage of our 9.09er online operations, we are operational 24/7. We have coaches working around the clock. So even if you're based in the Middle East or Africa or the Caribbean or the Americas, we have a coach available to accommodate you for one-on-one coaching. And those who are already enrolled in our program can attest to that. Now, let's take a look at what we have here. So speaking, as mentioned earlier, is the most important subtest, and it usually lasts for about 11 to 14 minutes. Guys, written examinations are always in the morning. That is the case 90% of the time, unless you booked for afternoon session of the written exams. So let me break it down to you. Usually they want you to arrive at the examination venue at around 8 a.m. Now, for the written exams, it usually starts at 9 a.m. That's for listening, followed by reading at around 10, followed by writing at around 11. So written exams are usually done by 12 noon. 1 hour for your lunch break, and then after lunch, that's when you come back for the speaking subtest. And it says here 11 to 14 minutes only. What about the mode of delivery for the speaking subtest? Well, it says it's via video call 90% of the time. What about the 10% of the time? IELTS acknowledges that there are certain parts of the world, like in certain provinces in the Philippines, where the internet connection is not stable. That's the only time they send an examiner in person to conduct face-to-face speaking tests. However, if the internet connection in your area is reliable, expect that 90% of the time, the speaking subtest is going to be conducted via video call. So I would like everyone, nurses and non-nurses alike, to reserve 1 day for the IELTS examination. Morning, typically the written exams, and then speaking subtest in the afternoon. Yes, IELTS relies on a human examiner to conduct the interview. So some people argue, I prefer talking to a computer. I prefer talking to this and that. But the good thing about the IELTS is there are not too many types of questions. The questions are very straightforward, like task 1, personal questions. IELTS examiners are not going to ask questions that have no personal value or personal importance to you, because task 1, which is the introduction that lasts for about 5 minutes, is more of a warm up. So you're not going to be judged by whatever answer you give in task 1. It's more of warm up. That is why this is the beauty of being interviewed by a human examiner. It's just a conversation in the first part. Moving on to IELTS speaking task 2, this is when you're going to deliver a speech. Not the long speeches delivered by politicians, but only 1 to 2 minutes. So the minimum is 1 minute and the maximum is 2 minutes. But nothing to worry because for speaking task 2, you're given enough time to prepare. In fact, you'll be given a task card in the form of an index card. Even if the examiner is in the other side of the world doing the video call speaking, the invigilators are going to provide you with the speaking task cards in front of you. At the same time, you're going to be provided with a scratch paper and a pen. For what purpose? You can actually make an outline. And while you're talking later on during your speech, you can look at this outline, which will serve as your guide. So remember, that's minimum of 1 minute and maximum of 2 minutes. Your goal is to reach the second minute. But what happens if you fail to reach 1 minute? There will be a penalty. So the goal of all candidates is to keep on talking, provide as many details as they can until such time they reach the second minute. So how can AMN Healthcare International and 9.09er English help you in reaching the second minute? Well, number one, our online review dashboard contains more than 2,000 of the speaking questions that I've gathered ever since I started teaching IELTS 20 years ago. 2 decades of IELTS experience allowed me to compile the most common questions, and voila! Our lecturer, Miss Diane, came up with this book, which, by the way, contains some actual questions with sample responses so that you don't have to think of what you're going to say. And Niner has done it for you. We've compiled questions. We've also answered them. What's left for you to do is to keep on practicing. It's not enough that you read the questions. You need to maximize the daily one-on-one coaching. All you have to do is to go to the Niner website and then book your one-on-one coaching. And yes, we are so happy to inform you that we are 100% back to normal. In fact, we have more than 50 hours of available slots for one-on-one coaching every day. And nothing to worry because I know that some of you want or prefer face-to-face classes. All AMN healthcare nurses are allowed to attend face-to-face classes in our 17 branches nationwide. So all you have to do is to message 9.09er English, or you can message me directly, Ervin Nil Temporal, to ask for the nearest branch offering a face-to-face. And yes, at 9.09er, we always follow the schedule. So if we've released the schedule ahead of time, yes, you are assured that when you enter the Zoom meeting room, there will be an ongoing class. And when you go to the branch at the time indicated on our face-to-face schedule, you will encounter your lecturer. Now, what about the 4 criteria that examiners are going to use in evaluating your performance? So for fluency, here's a 2026 update. We understand that so many people want to be very talkative. Like they just keep on talking. But in 2026, here's the big tip. It's not just about being talkative, but it's about being responsive to the question. Even if you talk for just 2 minutes, but you were able to hit all the marks, you were able to answer all of the questions in the bullet point, then good for you. As compared to someone who keeps on talking and exceeds 2 minutes but has only answered 1 or 2 questions because this person has provided some unresponsive or unnecessary details. So here's my 2026 tip for you. If you want to get a safe grade in fluency, don't just talk, make sure you answer the question. But wait a minute. What about the second criterion that examiners are going to use in evaluating your performance? There's what we call pronunciation and delivery. It's all about clarity. You don't need to pretend like you're an American, or people have this misconception that IELTS is a British product. That's why they have to sound British. I'm sure, I've been talking for nearly 20 minutes already, and you've recognized that I do not have the American accent. I don't sound British, but when I speak, I try to open my mouth so that I can clearly speak so that my audience, regardless of nationality, will understand what I am saying. And that's what this examination is all about. You do not need to pretend. You have to deliver. You have to be clearly understood. And at the end of the day, the other person on the other side of the video or located in a different part of the world is able to understand your message. So For pronunciation and delivery, you don't need to impress your examiner with your fake native accent. All you have to do is for you to be understood by the examiner. Now, that's another 2026 tip right there. But what about lexical resource? A lot of people, when they hear the word IELTS, they're thinking of using figures of speech. They're thinking of using big words in order for them to get a good grade in vocabulary and lexical resource. But this is an insider tip that not everyone knows. Did you know that people worldwide typically get high grades in lexical resource by simply using the words correctly? Have you noticed that when I started talking 20 minutes ago, I never used complicated language? Like, I did not say quandary. I did not say quagmire. I did not say verdant. If these words are not appropriate in the context of your speaking response, then do away with unnecessarily flowery words or expressions. Now, someone asked me, sir, is it illegal to use a figure of speech or an idiomatic expression? Well, the answer is it's not necessarily illegal. But make sure that when you use one, it is correct. It is appropriate in your sentence. Because the moment you use a big word, which is totally out of context, it will be taken against you. So instead of getting a higher mark for lexical resource, that's when you're going to get a lower grade. So remember, for lexical resource, the words that you must be using are correct. And number two, not repetitive. So if you've mentioned this word before, say for instance, essential, this time around, think of something else. Like you're going to say vital. And then in another sentence or in another paragraph, you might want to say integral. Your goal is accuracy and variety, not repetition. Okay. And lastly, we go to grammatical range and accuracy. Instead of forcing yourselves to learn big words that you can never use in your response, I would rather that you go back to the basics like subject verb agreement. If the subject is singular, the verb must also be singular, or the consistency of verb tenses. If the question asks you to recall about a past experience, then you have to stick to the past tense all throughout. You cannot use I am if you are talking about an experience that happened in what? In grade school or in high school. Now, I also want you to master your prepositions. Instead of focusing on complicated language, go back to basics. You must know when to use in, at, on, by, with, to, for. If you're able to master your prepositions, then it is not impossible to get that grade of 7 in the speaking subtest. So always remember, here are the 4 criteria that your examiners are going to use in evaluating your performance. There's fluency, which means it's not enough that you're talkative. You must be responsive. There's pronunciation and delivery. Make sure the words are clear, you are easily understood. Your accent must be neutral, not necessarily native, and your examiner must understand whatever you are saying without having difficulty in understanding. And number 3, vocabulary. Words must be correct and varied. And number 4, grammar. You must have a good command of the language without necessarily using complicated sentences. Okay, now let's move on to the other subtests, as we have less than 10 minutes left. So for the listening subtest, this is always the first in the written exams. And this is the easiest to get a 9.0 in. So the term niner is being given to someone who gets a 9.0 in the examination. So if you want to be called a niner, then I would rather that you focus on this subtest, because if you're going to look at the statistics worldwide, it's in listening where people usually get the highest grades. In fact, the global average in listening is higher than 7. So as you can see, even an average IELTS candidate can get higher than 7 in the listening subtest. So listening is divided into 4 sections, 10 points each. That makes a total 40 points. You see on our PowerPoint that there's 10 minutes and then there's plus 10 minutes. 30 minutes for you to listen to the recording and answer the questions. But if you're going to take the examination on paper, additional 10 minutes. But if you're going to take the test on computer, no more extra 10 minutes. But what's the point of that extra 10 minutes for paper-based examination? Well, that is for you to transfer your answers from the test booklet to the answer sheet. But wait, If you're going to take the test on computer, you're answering using the keyboard. Therefore, no need to transfer the answers to another answer sheet because you're already encoding the answers directly on the computer. What's the passing score here? I've mentioned earlier, US does not really care whatever grade you get in listening as long as your overall band is 6.5 and your speaking is 7. But if you want to know the safe grade, 6.0 in listening is around 24 over 40. So to all our nurses out there planning to go to America, if you get 24 over 40 in your listening practice tests, you are good to go and ready to take the actual IELTS examination. Main problems we've encountered? Well, there are people who have difficulties understanding the accent. So our main tip is expose yourself to as many accents as you can. Well, just because you're going to America doesn't mean that you're going to encounter American accent in all of your IELTS listening recordings. It's also good that you're exposed to British accent, Australian accent, or the Irish accent, Scottish accent. This is the age of social media and technology, so I'm sure you're going to encounter a lot of information, a lot of audio files with various accents. Now, let's move on to the second subtest in the written exams, and that is reading. Before I discuss reading, I would like to remind our viewers that by the end of our Facebook Live session, we are going to identify a winner who's going to win one of the following: a free speaking book, or a free writing book, or a free listening or reading book. So the winner will be announced by the end of this Facebook Live session. How to join? How to send your entry? Simply answer the question, what is your New Year's resolution for 2026? I'll wait for your entry. I'll wait for your comments because I'm going to choose a winner by the end of our Facebook Live session. Okay, now let's go to the reading subtest. This one, you'll be given 3 passages. One passage, approximately 400 to 700 words. And how many items per passage? 13 to 14 questions. If you do the math, the grand total is 40 points. Now, listening, if you remember, that's shorter, right? 30 minutes if it's IELTS on computer, total of 40 minutes if it's IELTS on paper. But for the reading subtest, you're given 1 hour to find 40 answers in the passages. What's our passing score in reading? USA only wants you to focus on speaking, which must be 7, and the overall band, which must be 6.5. But a safe grade for you to go to the United States, also a 6.0. So that's roughly 24 correct answers in reading out of 40 points. So this is an important tip to all the nurses who are preparing for their IELTS reading. When you answer the reading practice tests and you're already getting 24 over 40 in reading, you must not be too anxious because you're one step closer to your American dream. Now, what about the main problems? One problem I've noticed, people these days do not read. They simply watch. Because this is the age of what? Of Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, Reels. We no longer read. If you want to pass the reading subtest, what do? Read. Try to read every day. Journal, articles. Hopefully from reliable sources, right? Like newspaper, magazine, Time Magazine, Reader's Digest, Newsweek. These are materials with verifiable information. So read if you want to pass the reading subtest because there's just no substitute for reading. Now, what are my main tips? If I were you, try this at home. When you're going to read, identify the words that are unfamiliar to you, look them up in the dictionary so that the next time around you're going to encounter them, at least you already know what they mean. And don't be anxious if there are certain words in the actual examination that you do not understand. Remember, in the reading subtest, there are more details that you do not need as compared to the details that you need. I'll give you a simple logic. If there are 400 to 700 words per passage and grand total of 2,000 words in the actual reading subtest, how many answers are we looking for again? Just 40, right? So only 40 out of 2,000 words. Meaning to say, in the reading subtest, definitely there are more details that we do not need as compared to the details that we need. So if you don't understand a specific word or a specific phrase or a specific sentence, ask yourself, does this portion of the passage contain the answer I'm looking for? Because if not, thank you, Lord, that the portion you did not understand does not contain any answer. So here's another 2026 tip for you guys. Read the questions first so that you would know which particular information to find in the passage. So that's about it for our reading subtest. Now we go to the writing subtest. Writing, if I may say, is the number one challenge for candidates worldwide. Usually, people get the highest grade in listening and the lowest grade in the writing subtest. That's why Sir Brian in 2020 came up with this writing compilation. Well, Sir Brian got 9.0 in writing. That's why he made all sorts of essays and compiled them into one book. Now, here's the good news though. Even if people get the lowest grade in writing, USA does not require you to get a specific grade. So even if you get a 6 in writing, fine, you can go to the US. Even if your writing task is unfinished at 5.0, that's fine as long as there are other subtests that can pull you up. Like if you got 5 in writing, but you got 6.5 in listening and reading, and then a 7 in speaking, that will still give you 6.5 overall band score. So nothing to worry in IELTS because you don't have to devote so much time in listening, reading, and writing, unlike in other English examinations that you have to devote equal attention to the 4 subtests because you need to get a specific grade not just for speaking, but also for listening, reading, and writing in other English examinations. So for writing, you'll be doing 2 tasks, actually. The first one is a statistical report describing a line graph, bar graph, pie chart table, which is very academic in nature. And the second one, you're going to write an essay. Task 1, minimum of 150 words. Task 2, 250 words. And when you're going to combine both, that's minimum of 400 words in 1 hour. Guys, main problems? Well, people now find it difficult to spell. They forget the rules on capitalization and punctuation simply because they just watch, or when they talk to their friends, they're chatting and using abbreviations like LOL or all sorts of abbreviations that are not accepted in formal language. If I were you, just try to be formal, just try to spell everything out until the day of your examination, then you can go back to your old habits after you pass the exam, right? Now, let's move on to our next slide. And it says here that we are highlighting the advantages of IELTS over the other English examinations. And guys, we are down to the last few minutes. So if I were you, send in your entry. What is your New Year's resolution for 2026? Because in a few minutes, we're going to identify the lucky winner of our free IELTS book. Let's begin with number 1. Definitely, there are more IELTS testing centers worldwide. Not just in the Philippines, but the world over, IELTS definitely has more testing centers. And you'll never run out of resources. I have been teaching IELTS for 20 years, but you know what? IELTS is older. IELTS was introduced in the world in 1989. So that makes it 2026, 1989. IELTS is going to turn 37 years old this year. With 37 years in the industry, you will never run out of IELTS practice tests. And in some other English examinations, your exam fee will be forfeited if your middle name is not placed beside your first name. But in IELTS, you can still take the examination even if there is an issue with your middle name in your registration. And more advantages of IELTS: no retail lecture, no describe image, no reorder paragraphs. And lastly, in the speaking subtest, you're all alone inside the speaking cubicle, or it's just you and the examiner in the case of face-to-face speaking. Unlike in other examinations, speaking is with everyone else. So in other English exams, there is this tendency for you to scream at the top of your lungs because you're competing with the grating voices of your fellow speaking examinees. But none of that problem in IELTS, because in IELTS, it's just you inside the cubicle talking to a human examiner in the other side of on the other side of the world. So, ladies and gentlemen, those are the advantages of IELTS. And now we have arrived at the last few slides of our presentation. Let's move on to the next one, please. If you are from the Philippines, 9.09er, by the way, is the official testing center in the following. In Metro Manila, we have two: Makati City near Makati Medical Center, and P Camp España Manila near FEU, near UST, near Moraita. If you're from the Southern Tagalog region, we have two testing centers: Imus Cavite and Lipa Batangas. But up north, we have four. Niner is the king of the north. We have testing centers in Dagupan, Pangasinan, Tugigaraw, Cagayan Valley, Cabanatuan, Nueva Ecija, and Vigan, Ilocos Sur. In the Visayas, we have two testing centers, particularly located in Western Visayas. That's Iloilo City and Bacolod City, Negros Occidental. Something to remember for our Visayas testing centers are always located across SEDA. So where is our testing center in Iloilo? Across SEDA, Iloilo. What about in Bacolod? Across SEDA, Bacolod. And then our lone testing center in Mindanao, that's Cagayan de Oro, Misamis Oriental. And I guess we have more slides here, if I'm not mistaken. Moving on to the next one, please. So, mentioned earlier in the beginning of this live session, we have face-to-face classes in 17 cities spread across the Philippines. We're also the official testing center in 11 cities. And don't forget, the advantage of Niner, daily one-on-one coaching available from Monday to Sunday, and that's 24/7 because we have coaches working around the clock to make sure that you'll be accommodated regardless of your time zone. The books I've mentioned earlier, they're actually available on Shopee. And if you're taking the test in the Philippines, we offer discounted examination. We also would like to highlight the scores of our instructors. So if you are from Metro Manila, Sir Philip, tomorrow until January 6 to 9. Yes, that's Tuesday until Friday. He'll be teaching face-to-face 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. at our P Campa España Manila branch. But in a few weeks' time, he'll also be doing online classes 1 p.m. to 9 p.m. Philippine time. And lastly, if you want to reach out because you have questions, you can see here my personal Facebook page. That's Ervin Nil Temporal. You can also message 9.09er English on Facebook, or you can check or you can access your dashboard by going to our website. That's www.nineronlinereview.com. And if you want to reach out to me personally, my personal email ad is exams@nineronlinereview.com. That's the one that I use for work. And we're all over the place on YouTube, App Store, Shopee, Amazon, Spotify, and TikTok. Now, it's time to read your entries and let's identify the winner for tonight. Okay? The winner is going to receive a free book. So once again, what's the question? What is your New Year's resolution this 2026? Okay. Now, I'm reading the entries of our candidates. My New Year's resolution is to confidently pass my IELTS examination, guided and inspired by the support of 9.09er, who motivates me to give my best. I like that. Let's check if there are other entries. Okay, we have another one here. Let me just read it. One of my New Year's resolutions this 2026 is to pass my IELTS examination with the help of 9.09er review and God's grace as well. I can make it. Claiming that you're going to make it. And we have more entries here. But so far, I prefer the first two. You know, this is what I like most whenever we do Facebook Live sessions like this and there are people who engage. Because sometimes people wait for the others to start reacting or start commenting. But when few people start using the comment section, it's going to spread like wildfire. So we would like to thank the first few people who used the comment section and submitted entries. So instead of just identifying one winner, well, let's give 2 free books for tonight. Okay, so the first one, congratulations, Jonah de los Reyes Abuso. And the second one, congratulations, Francis Mariel Pogata Rubion. So, how do you claim your free book? Kindly message me personally. That's Ervin Nil Temporal on Facebook, or you can also message 9.09er English. And I need the following details from you: your complete name, your complete delivery address, your mobile number, and your preferred book. What are your options if you're got? Speaking book, writing book, or listening and reading book. Don't worry if you are not one of our winners for tonight because 9.09er is always generous in the first quarter. We have regular Facebook Live sessions. In fact, tomorrow, that's Tuesday, January 6th, I'll be doing another Facebook Live session, and this time it's with IELTS British Council Philippines via iPass Processing FB page at 6 p.m. We'll also be giving prizes tomorrow. So mark your calendars because if tonight you're not lucky, who knows, it might be your day tomorrow. And then on Wednesday, I'll be doing another live lecture. And I'm not really sure if it's speaking, which is the subject, but I might be talking about speaking for 1 whole hour on Wednesday at 6 p.m. And whenever I'll be doing Facebook Live sessions, expect that there's always a freebie. So spread that good news to your friends so that in January, catch the Facebook Live sessions of Niner to win freebies. Guys, I would like to thank you for your time. Even if it's 9 p.m., you are still here with us. And we look forward to having you at more AMN Academy live lectures every first and third Monday of the month. Our feature 2 weeks from now is something to look forward to because we're going to share with you an IELTS success story of one of our passers. Guys, it's always important to hear the story and the experience of others to motivate you to be better than your best when you take your actual IELTS examination. And remember that it's not just Monday. Every Friday, AMN Healthcare International has another show entitled Onwards and Upwards. Once again, thank you to the entire AMN team. Thank you, Ms. Malanes, for facilitating this AMN FB Live. Thank you, everyone. Good night, and we'll see you in our next session. Bye-bye.